we've had lots of lessons on the 7 habits this year, right? We're pretty familiar with the habits. So instead of telling you which habit we are going to learn about today and do an activity on, I've found a cartoon that represents our habit that we're going to be talking about today perfectly. So, Brad, can you read what our cartoon says? How would you like it if the mouse did that to you? Can somebody tell me why you think it says that up there? What's the picture of, Dalton?
Of a cat catching a mouse.
A cat catching a mouse. So, at your table groups, I want you to take a minute and I want you to talk about which habit could we possibly be learning about based off this comment. Talk in your groups. I can see where they're thinking. So what is the cat doing to the mouse though?
What if it's our table was just
No, it's not going in order. Alright, so let's hear from Xander. What habit do you think we're learning about today?
Habit 4,
Which is?
which is think win-win.
Alright, tell me why.
Because the cat catches the mouse and the mouse just gets caught by the cat and doesn't do anything when it's caught by the cat. The cat gets something but the mouse doesn't. Well, he does get some. The mouse does get something to be eaten.
Okay, so I heard a lot of think win-wins, but that is not the habit we're going to learn about. Hang on. I can see how you would think that, because if the cat didn't do this to the mouse, and the mouse isn't able to do this to the cat, then it's a win-win situation, right? Nobody's getting caught. But, Trevor, what is our habit we're learning about? Perfect. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Why, Trevor?
Because treat people how you do.
That's an excellent example of seek first to understand. Treat people how you want to be treated. Or put yourself in someone else's shoes. Right, Xander? Haven't we talked about that? Put yourself in someone else's shoes. So, that's what our lesson is about today. I found an awesome book that we're going to read called Those Shoes. And it's all about how, when you are in a situation, Zane, and you are maybe in a conversation with a friend or you have classmates that you're not that close with, and you come into situations where you may have disagreements, you want to make sure you remember to put yourself in their shoes before you react. Yes, Xander?
In this activity, are we going to swap shoes?
No, we're not.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Oh, there's
But
no one will fit in my shoe.
let's listen as the book is read aloud to us. And I want you to really pay attention to how the characters in the story use habit 5. Okay?
5.
Habit 5.
I was so close with habit 4.
Xander, let's remember to raise our hand, please.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Chase.
I thought it would be proactive because that mouse was being mean to the cat was being mean to the mouse, and the grandma said be nice. Basically, she was gonna say be nice, but she said be treat
she almost said something around the lines of treat others how you want to be treated, right? She said, how would you feel if the mouse did that to you? So, that's why we're focusing on habit 5. But, the fact that you can pull examples of the other habits from the one comic means that, is there just one habit that applies to any situation?
No.
No. You can apply a lot of the different habits we use to many situations. All right, Chase, hit the lights. Thanks, sir. Those shoes. It didn't hit play.
Tones, narrated by Brett Stoltz. I have dreams about those shoes. Black high tops, 2 white stripes. Grandma, I want them. There's no room for want around here, just need, Grandma says. And what you need are new boots for winter. Brandon T comes to school in those shoes. He says he's the fastest runner now, not me. I was always the fastest before those shoes came along. Nate comes to school in those shoes. Antonio and I count how many times Nate goes to the bathroom. 7 times in one day, just so he can walk up and down the hall real slow. Next, Alan, Jacoby, and Terrence each get a pair. Then one day, in the middle of kickball, one of my shoes comes apart. Looks like you could use a new pair, Jeremy, Mr. Alfrey, the guidance counselor, says. He brings out a box of shoes and other stuff he has for kids who need things. He helps me find the only shoes that are my size. Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears. They have an animal on them from a cartoon I don't think any kid ever watched. When I come back to the classroom, Alan Jacoby takes one look at my Mr. Alfrey shoes and laughs. And so do Terrence, Brandon T, and everyone else. The only kid not laughing is Antonio Parker. At home, Grandma says, "How kind of Mr. Alfrey." I nod and turn my back. I'm not going to cry about any dumb shoes. But when I'm writing my spelling words later, every word looks like the word shoes. And my grip is so tight on my pencil, I think it might bust. On Saturday, Grandma says, "Let's check out those shoes you're wanting so much. I got a little bit of money set aside. Might be enough. You never know." At the shoe store, Grandma turns those shoes over so she can check the price. When she sees it, she sits down heavy. "Maybe they wrote it down wrong," I say. Grandma shakes her head. Then I remember the thrift shops. What if there's a rich kid who outgrew his or got 2 pairs for Christmas and had to give one of them away? We ride the bus to the first thrift shop. Black cowboy boots, pink slippers, sandals, high heels, every kind of shoes except the ones I want. We ride the bus to the second thrift shop. Not a pair of those shoes in sight. Around the corner is the third thrift shop. I see something in the window. Black shoes with 2 white stripes, high tops, perfect shape, $2.50. Those shoes! My heart is pounding hard as I take off my shoes and hitch up my baggy socks. "How exciting," Grandma says. "What size are they?" I shove my foot into the first shoe, curling my toes to get my heel in. "I don't know, but I think they fit." Grandma kneels on the floor and feels for my toes at the end of the shoe. "Oh, Jeremy," she says, "I can't spend good money on shoes that don't fit." I pull the other shoe on and try to walk around. "They're okay," I say, holding my breath and praying that my toes will fall off right then and there. But my toes don't fall off. I buy them anyway with my own money, and I squeeze them on and limp to the bus stop. At home a few days later, Grandma puts a new pair of snow boots in my closet and doesn't say a word about my 2 big feet shuffling around in my 2 small shoes. "Sometimes shoes stretch," I say. Grandma gives me a hug. I check every day, but those shoes don't stretch. I have to wear my Mr. Alfrey's to school instead. One day during math, I glance at Antonio's shoes. One of them is taped up, and his feet look smaller than mine. After school, I head to the park to think. Antonio is there, the only kid who didn't laugh at my Mr. Alfrey's shoes. We shoot baskets. A loose piece of tape on Antonio's shoe smacks the concrete every time he jumps. I think, I'm not going to do it. We leap off the swings. I'm not going to do it. We race from one end of the playground to the other. I'm not going to do it, I say. "Do what?" Antonio says, breathing hard. Grandma calls me for supper and invites Antonio over too. After supper, he spies my shoes. "How come you don't wear them?" Antonio asks. I shrug. My hands are sweaty. I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. That night, I'm awake for a long time thinking about Antonio. When morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time. Before I can change my mind, the shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put the shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and run. At school, Antonio is smiling big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face and mad when I look at my Mr. Alfrey shoes. But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there is snow. "Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots," the teacher announces. Leave your shoes in the hall. It's then I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots. New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward and says, "Thanks." I smile and I give him a nudge. Let's race!
Alright. So, someone raise your hand and tell me. Excuse me, Ms. Addison. Someone raise your hand and tell me how Habit 5 was used in that book. Go. Antonio. Okay, so that's exactly right. He didn't want to give his shoes away when he first just thought about the situation, right? But you saying when he actually talked to Antonio and had him over at his house, he decided he was going to give his shoes away, right? So how did he use Habit 5? What did he do, Xander?
Well, like the other kids, laughed when they saw Mr. Alfred's shoes, but not Antonio. Antonio feels the same way about him because his shoes are too big.
Exactly. So were the other kids who were making fun, were they using Habit 5?
No.
Destiny, why not? Exactly. What if they had those kinds of shoes? Do you think they'd still be laughing? No. So does the comic make sense now? What if the cat did that, or what if the mouse did that to you?
Yeah.
Do you think the cat would like it if a mouse caught a cat by its tail?
No.
No. All right, so what we're going to do is you're each going to have your own shoe, and we're going to hang these so that we can see and be reminded that before we respond in a situation or have disagreements with our friends, that we remember to use Habit 5 and seek first to understand, then to be understood. So we're going to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. So, on your shoe, and you get to color it however you want, and then you'll cut it out. You're going to think of a time, and you're going to write about a time when you put yourself in someone else's shoes.
I remember that time.
Xander?